Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to the About Wellbeing podcast, episode 11. Big flex, little flex. Today I'm getting a little bit vulnerable and the title of this podcast is called Protein Shakes and Heartbreaks. So I just wanted to discuss today this recent breakup that I've been going through and how I've sort of dealt with it. Now, my high performance self-improvement hierarchy that I have, relationships is like one of the most is in there, and it's I think probably the most important thing that kind of happened for high performance and self-improvement. Now, why it is in there is that like we all have different relationships, not just intimate, but business, personal, friendships, family, of all these different relationships, and you don't know who you are unless you have relationships, because people will tell you. I believe that like everyone is just a mirror reflection of you, and what you like about someone or what you'd like about yourself that you see in someone else, you see that. And what you dislike about someone is what you dislike about yourself, or what you dislike about someone is what you wouldn't want to be like, which kind of helps tell you who you are. Now, like imagine if you were by yourself in the world and there was no one else around, like how would you know who you were? Like you wouldn't. And it's not until like you have people around you who will kind of signal to you what you're being like. So if you're being nice, people will tell you, or they'll act nice. You go, yeah, I'm a nice person. But if you're a grumpy shit and people tell you you're a grumpy shit, or they act like off you, like, oh gosh, like what is wrong with this person? Why are they so grumpy? You'll be able to tell that straight away, which indicates to you how you're currently being, which indicates who you are, right? Makes a bunch of sense. Relationships are that important. So through like my relationship, we were in a long-term relationship and it's broken up basically because our futures weren't aligning, but that stemmed through a whole bunch of other things. It took us ages to figure those out. And why should you listen to me? Well, I'm not a relationship expert or anything like that, but I have read quite a few books, and I'm just sharing this experience with you as far as to give you some clarity. You might relate, which is like super important. You might go, oh, this is great, I related to some of this stuff, or you might actually take something out of this. There's a bunch of science and stuff that I'll like be using, which might make a bunch of sense to you for this type of stuff. So basically, during this relationship, my partner and I both, we read, was it ex-partner now? We read the books, The 5 Love Language. We went through those. I went through Sex at Dawn. I went through Nonviolent Communication, John Gray's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, What Your Mother Didn't Tell You and What Your Father Didn't Know. And there was another one, Way of the Superior Man, David Dieter. Now, all of those sort of like indicate, or they're all relationship books. And I used and I practiced all of those things in those books in order to like optimize my relationship, and I was very grateful and blessed to have the experience of that relationship to practice those things, because I actually learned how to be a good lover. Well, I felt like that. I wouldn't say I wouldn't like pump myself up for that, but I learned how to be a lover, and which was like is quite amazing, and I thought that was a really great opportunity and experience to have. And I think that the conversations that we had were actually really quite conscious, like together in a relationship, and I used to get that feedback from other people that would like hear us or listen to us talk or anything like that, which I thought is obviously extremely important to have. So what happened was, over a certain period of time, I think we knew for a while that our futures weren't gelling or aligning, and what happened was we started getting bitter and like resentful at each other about like a bunch of little things. And I'm just going to share with you sort of like the story here and then get into the science of it. So, the point that I'm trying to get across now will actually be to prove some of Jordan Peterson's point. I did a whole bunch of research on him as well, and I think he had some really good nuggets in there, and like with his stuff. Now, some of the things that he wanted to get across was that you need to have like extreme patience in a relationship, and you need to learn how to be patient and reward the other person even when they mess up, and you need to also teach the other person how to best reward you even when you mess up as well, and how you best prefer that. Now, that also comes into a lot of science that I do. Like at my job, I'm an organizational development consultant, and I work in like high performance training. And one of the things that we do is, what we encourage is continuous performance conversations, even if they're small and short, like ongoing conversations. And Jordan Peterson says that, you should be talking about your relationship like at least once a week, like about how the actual relationship's going and if you're both happy and what needs are actually happening and being expressed and all the rest of it. Now, the importance of those ongoing conversations is that they prevent. What happens is you initiate little stings in the relationship, or appreciation is given where it is due, which is extremely important. So like if you had a relationship, let's say you had a conversation and you're just like, look, I'm so happy you did this and this and this for me like this week, and that was like one of the best things ever, and like I'm so overwhelmed with love. You as someone hearing that, receiving that, would be like, that is the best feedback ever. That would fill you up with love. You'd be like, yes, I'm doing the best, I'm doing such a good job. But the opposite is quite happening, like, oh, this and this and this may have happened this week, and like I'm not getting, whatever my needs met. And you just go, oh crap, I've got some work to do. But it's extremely important having that and taking in that little sting to prevent a much bigger sting later on. Now, I think we were all lucky to have our conversation, because our breakup conversation was quite mature and very conscious, and it was very accepting. It was like, hey, this is you, this is your path, this is you, this is your path, and like both of you are okay, like, and this is just sucks because obviously we really love each other, but we're not going to work out, which is extremely unfortunate. So let's go on these paths. So I think that's actually really good to have that conversation before it got any worse, or before the relationship started getting worse as well, because you start noticing those things come up. Now, what we could have done is like see some of these things I'm researching, which I'd like to share with you, which is kind of like where I stuffed up and where I could have been a more higher value person instead of a lower value person, is learning how to be, and like how I said beforehand, learning how to be patient and communicate patience. So just as like an example, let's just say like what I did a lot was I expected things without like asking them. I just expected support was basically it. Now what I didn't do was show appreciation or gratitude for those things when they happened. Now what you want to do is with the partner is you have to kind of like how you teach a dog to learn tricks and behave is the same thing you need to do with like your partner. As humans, like we take a long time. We're so distracted. Like in 2020, as far as just like being a human goes, you're not just a human, you are a distracted human, and having attention and grooming someone to be like the perfect partner for you is really quite difficult. So what you have to do is be extremely forgiving and patient with the other person. Now, in that example that I was using, as far as I expected but didn't give appreciation and gratitude, what I could have done was any time that anything was done without me having to vocalize my expectations, what I could have done was just express some damn appreciation and gratitude, right? For even when it wasn't as good as what I expected, even if it was terrible, if that effort was put in there for something, appreciation and gratitude needed to be expressed in order for that person to feel rewarded, so that they're more likely to do it again and they learn and they get better at things, blah, 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 and vice versa. And like my case scenario was I was terrible at, well, I'm quite clean and tidy, but I'm not like precision clean. And like my ex-partner really liked things to be precision cleaned. And instead of, for like what happened was for me, I'd be cleaning a whole bunch of things and she wouldn't notice my cleaning, my efforts, and she'd just notice the bad things. And that would make me feel extremely like underappreciated. And that's where I would get resentful and I would be bitter and I'd be extremely salty about it because my efforts weren't recognized. It's exactly the same as like a performance conversation. It's actually quite funny. My efforts weren't recognized. Now, if appreciation was given, like, oh, I saw you did this, that was the best, and just like completely ignored whatever that, like the little thing was that I didn't do, I would be like, this is the best thing ever. Like, I've definitely do this again. I just got rewarded for this. Like, yes. And then I'm more likely to do it again more frequently, and then more likely to get better and better and better. And as someone like, obviously helping someone, like if I was, expected something, but just vocalizing like, hi, I just want to let you know, like, or just talking, expressing those things. If it wasn't met to the level of what I wanted, it's just to bump it up a little bit. Like, oh, hey, you did this and it was the best job. Would you mind doing this little extra thing as well? Like, I just appreciate that so much. Like, you're the best. Just saying something like small like that and turning the dial really slowly, will end up help grooming the other person. Now, the other point that Jordan Peterson makes, which I didn't do as well, was also tell the other person. This is exactly the same as performance conversations, really funny. You tell the other person how you would best like to receive, how you'd best like to be groomed, basically. Like, when I do something, I love a hug. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, like, that's going to make me feel the best. Like, that's what makes me feel most rewarded. And also, however you best like to do stuff. Like, if you see me like make effort for something, even if it's something small, please just reward me. Like, that would be like the best, because obviously I'll get better at it, because we're so distracted. It's hard for us to remember everything, especially, you know, you've got your own body and mind and thoughts and everything to worry about. It's hard to have your, like, be completely aware for someone else. But if you communicate and you're organized with it, and you know exactly what's happening, and people are getting rewarded and feel good about it and expressing love and gratitude and appreciation for it, you're going to be a lot more likely to do those things in order to figure it out. Now, what will happen in like our situation was that, because our futures weren't gelling or they weren't aligned, and when bumps in the road and hurdles come, and, you know, times were tested for us to not be in a rush or for us to actually be patient, we weren't. And then we'd get resentful and bitter about the little things. Like, myself personally, I would get quite, like, if I wasn't appreciated for something, I'd just go silent. And I wouldn't talk, do nothing, but I'm just going to do my own thing for ages and just, like, forget, like, they're even here, which is, like, obviously the worst thing to do as a guy, like, ever. But, you know, that stemmed from because there was something wasn't working anyway, and we were, like, trying to figure that out. And I was just heading down that path, and it was only a matter of time. But I'm expressing this to you as like a little tip for, like, this is some of the like the mistakes and where it could have gone, like, right, or what would have helped, you know, helped reduce some of the sting, maybe. Who knows? But anyway, I believe that was extremely important, and the more I think about it, the more it's like, yeah, that's actually quite true there. So we had, like, a long relationship, and we had, like, the best relationship. We had, like, a really good, loving relationship. Learned how to love, learned how all the stuff. We learned how to communicate really well. We had some of the best moments, like, ever. And it was, you know, obviously, once you get to the point when you realize your future's unlining, you're both like, oh, damn. But so what happened in this relationship, which is quite different to my other ones, was I'm going to get vulnerable now and share with you guys, not something that not everyone really knows, but one of my past relationships, I was quite suicidal after the relationship. Now, I was never going to do it, but the tendencies and thoughts got suicidal. You might think, why? Like, how the hell would it ever get there? Well, the thing is like a breakup, I think, emotionally, like, I'm not sure if I did a redo of this video. When I talk about relationships, right, what they do is after a certain period of time, certain threads are built together and they're woven together like strings as you would tangle your lives together. Now, the smaller the string is, like, kind of like the less amount of time you've been in a relationship and the less intense the relationship has been. Very easy to, like, break and cut off. Obviously, it's like if you're trying to break it with your hands, you can eventually use your teeth and break the string. But if you had a rope, which has a lot more woven life entanglements, if we're using the analogy for relationships, it's a lot stronger, it's a lot more intense, it's a lot harder to break that rope, but it's going to be painful and it's going to take ages and it's going to be a lot more intense. That's the exact same thing that happens when you go through a breakup emotionally. Now, I think what happens is, I think that relationships, like a breakup, the grieving of a relationship is the most painful thing anyone could ever experience ever. And obviously, as a guy, we never get to experience childbirth, but I assume that's probably number one. But I think a relationship, like a good big heartbreak is the most painful thing anyone can experience. And I think it's, like, really important to have that experience sort of there, because then you get to really appreciate, you know, how good falling in love is, and, like, love is, because it's, like, the most amazing thing ever. Obviously, we're here for that experience. You know, you've got the polar yin and yang, so you've got the heartbreak, you've got the highs. And yeah, I think it's obviously the most painful thing. Now, why would I believe it's the most painful thing? Well, you're actually grieving someone. Like, I've had, like, I haven't gone through the most craziest stuff, but been suicidal. I've had some real close friends and people, like, pass away from me, and that was horrible, broken bones and things. But so far, like, a good breakup is, like, the most painful thing I think anyone could experience. Well, certainly I have in my little experience. So what sort of the point I was getting to that is, when I was suicidal, break up, super painful, hurts. Yes, now why does it hurt? Well, you're actually grieving a whole bunch of different timelines. So you're grieving the whole past, you're grieving all these sexual experiences you had as guys. I'm not sure how girls feel, but sex is extremely important and valuable to us, and we like really hold on to it. So you're grieving the sexual experience, you're grieving the past, you're grieving all the laughs, the lows, you're grieving breakups with families and other relationships as well. You're also grieving the present. So you're grieving whatever you're currently experiencing with the families and stuff now, living situations, pets, date nights, we're eating together, all those different things, sleeping together, you're grieving all of that. Then you're also grieving potential future situations, because in your own head, you've solidified and made up all these different future situations and timelines that could have happened, and now you have to grieve those as well and like say goodbye to them and let go of them. So, and then you actually have to let go of the person themselves, and which is huge. And then you have to let go like a part of yourself, because you really invest yourself into someone in a relationship when you're like real connected. Like they sort of feel like your home. That's how you know you're in like a really good relationship. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter where I am, whatever, but if I'm with you, I'm sweet. Like that's how you know you're sort of in a really big, I think a really important, significant relationship with someone. Now what happens is, yeah, when the breaks, you got to say goodbye to all of those things, which is why the break is so intense. Now, what happens is, the way like, I guess, anxiety and depression work is you sort of get into a loop. Now, if you haven't read the book Think and Grow Rich, they prove in there, and they have the studies and the science to prove that the law of attraction is more real than gravity. They have more science to prove the law of attraction than like actual gravity. Now, what is law of attraction? That is basically like whatever you're thinking or focusing on starts happening. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but sometimes you'll mention someone like, oh, I haven't seen this person in ages, wonder how they've been. Then like the next day you see them and you're like, I was talking about you yesterday. What the hell? Oh my goodness. But anyway, so the law of attraction happens. Whatever you're thinking and focusing about, sniffle, sorry, will manifest in your life, baby. So what happens is, during the breakup, you're experiencing this huge hurt. So you're in a mental frequency to start attracting hurt. So hurt's just going to come at you like everywhere, and then you're going to make up excuses to say like, you know, oh, I'm not worthy for this, I'm not good enough for this, I'll never be a good partner, this will never happen again, like, oh, I'm extremely lonely and I hate being this lonely. And what happens is, because you're experiencing that hurt, you take that to other areas. And how I got suicidal was the relationship broke up, then uni started sucking because I couldn't focus for it because I was too busy focusing about that. Then work started suffering, and they're like, oh, you're doing a bad job because of all that. Family stuff started suffering because like I couldn't be there for like my family. Oh, I haven't seen you in ages, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Then friendship, like some of my friends are going through things and I couldn't be there for them, and that made you feel even more like a piece of shit. So you're just constantly getting down yourself and attracting hurt like this way, that way, that way. And it's very hard to like get out of that hurt. Like it's quite a struggle to get out of it. Now, what is extremely important is to be aware that your mind and your emotions are separate. And if you're not listening properly or tuning in, listen right now. Put your thinking cap on. Your mind and your emotions are completely separate. Now, just simply recognizing and acknowledging that can help you break that lull, that loop of hurt, and help you get out of it. Because what happens is your emotions influence your thoughts. They influence your damn thoughts, and that's what can make you really fall into that lull. Now, you can be mentally fine and emotionally a mess, which is how I kind of feel at the moment. I'm actually really quite proud of myself. Obviously, in the mental side of things, I've definitely failed, like heaps of times, but I keep getting out of it, and I'm aware and acknowledged of it. And like, as like, this is like the worst breakup I've ever been through emotionally, but mentally it's like, you know, I'm gonna be fine. Like I've been through this before and I know how to entangle it. So this is what I really want to share with you guys, like my thought process for that. So what happens is your mind, by the way, you have like the lowest part of your brain is where your amygdala and your hippocampus is. Now that is also known as your like crocodile brain, and it's the first thing that your nervous system connects to before it gets into the rest of your brain. And it's also the first reactive and responsive thing. How that works, your crocodile brain works, is if you go to your flight, fight, and freeze response. And if you're backing out of a driveway and a kid just like goes past on a bike, you brake straight away. You just go, pull, fuck, Like, geez, there's a kid there. You're not going to get into the rest of your brain, because how the rest of your brain works is that you actually have we have as humans the biggest developed frontal lobes out of any other like species, and what that does is help us get into rational, logical, creative thinking. We can digest our thoughts and whatever we're worried about. When you're going back and out of a driveway, fuck kid! You're not going to get into your mind and be like, what's the most creative way I can like stop myself from hitting this kid. You just break straight away. Now, what that happens is that comes out of an emotional response. So the same thing happens when you're like in a breakup, is you experience all these emotional responses. I'm not worthy, I'm lonely, I'm this, I'm angry, I'm jealous, all the rest of it. You experience all these things. And what happens is all your decisions and thoughts and choices are, oh fuck, you know what I mean? You're just making these, influences what you're deciding, and you're a lot more reactive, and you're not in your analytical, rational, logical, creative thought process. Now, that thought process of your mind, the creative part in your frontal lobes, when you're thinking in there, that is your high performance state. That is where high performance and optimized everything comes from, is that part of your brain. Now, that part of your brain is the last thing like in there that your mind has to like sort of get to before it can digest stuff. All right, so if you want to get into there, you have to sort of pass the fight, flight, and freeze response. And it's like, well, how do you get there? You have to clarify the what and the why. Why is that? Well, basically our brain is actually 75% wired to threat. It's 75% wired to threat, and it scans, your whole system through your smell, touch, sight, everything for threat every 5 seconds, right? So it's constantly thinking about it. So if you're an emotional hurt, you kind of be like, oh, I'm bad. Every 5 seconds, oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad, whatever. Now, what you need to do is clarify like the what and the why, which really let you get into your frontal lobe so you can think and digest your thoughts. For instance, you could just be sitting around at home, whatever, some of the like feelings hit you, your emotions. Goddamn, my emotions hit me right now. What am I feeling? I'm feeling lonely. Why are you feeling lonely? Well, at this time of night, this time of day, usually I'd be sitting like with my partner and we'd be watching TV together or something. Now, just because you've acknowledged that, you can start thinking about it. Okay, well, what can I do, maybe? Or just call a friend, speak them up, get someone, invite someone to come over and hang out. Like that could be one of the best things ever. Or it could just be, okay, so this is what I'm feeling. I need to sit in these feels and just be with these feelings in order to digest them. In a relationship, especially if it's a long-term one, or even if it's an intense one, once that rope has been cut, oh man, worse. So sometimes you also just need to let the rope be cut in order to heal. Now, one of the reasons this is so important, especially if you're an athlete, bodybuilder, high performer, is that your body has two different states, parasympathetic state and a sympathetic state. Sympathetic state is like when you're in the gym, getting stuff in traffic, or you're being like, oh, my heart is broken. When you're in that state, your body is not recovering. It's not building muscle. It is not recovering. It's not allowing you to recharge. When you're in a parasympathetic state is when it lets your body recharge, recover, and all of those things. So that's why sometimes it's so super important to just, if you're experiencing any emotions, just to sit with them, be with them, let them feel, think about what, think about why, think about what, think about why, digest all the thoughts, let your mind like rational and logical think about them, and then let them like dissolve. And what will happen is that it allows your body to get to a parasympathetic state again, and this is really good. Or even like writing some of the things down. Now, this is really cool. This comes out of the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Important to note, this is super important to note, that thoughts of a want or thoughts of a desire create emotion. Listen to that again. Your want, I should rephrase that, your want of an action is what creates emotion. Emotions don't create emotions. You don't have emotions and then influence your thought. And your ability to choose like whatever your want is or your emotion in any given situation can be chosen. They got all the science, they did all the stuff to figure that out. Now, what that kind of means is if like when someone says something funny and it tickles your fancy and you go, ooh, I want to laugh right now, your body will make you feel really happy and really like giggly and bubbly so you can actually laugh. Or someone will say something to you or do something for you that's extremely nice and it'll make you feel all these love emotions, in order for you to give you the right excuses to like, oh, give them a hug. Or you want to, let's say you get someone says something to you that's extremely hurtful, so you think to yourself like, I want to yell at you, so now your body will make you feel angry in order to give you the excuses to yell at someone because you want to. So that's why I said maybe I missed the step. So like just saying if someone says something nice to you and you think, I want to give you a hug, your body will make you feel love in order to give you an excuse to hug them. So that's right, you want to have the hug or the I want to yell at someone first, or oh, I want to laugh. So then your body will make you feel happy in order to make you laugh. Whoa, how crazy is that? So that is something super important to know, that when you're upset or going through some sort of something hard, it doesn't have to be a breakup, it can be anything that's really hard, to be honest. And you sort of in that lull is to know that like, okay, what's my what, what's my why? Now, what is the desire? Like, what do I want to do right now? Like, do I want to cry? And then your body will make you feel all upset, and then you'll start crying, right? Or it might just be, like, well, what is that desire there? Well, change your desire. Like, digest the stuff when you need to digest the thoughts and the feelings, but like, what is it there that you can actually think about? What other desire can you sort of put in there? What want can you put in there in order to change your emotional response? Emotions always come second. And that was another point that I wanted to get to. And that's extremely important, by the way. Don't lose that. Emotions always come second. That is absolutely huge. Now, especially for like high performance mindset stuff. What? But there's another point I want to get to. We are like electrical, magnetic beings. Oh, that's what I was talking about beforehand with the frequencies, blah, 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 blah. I think that's basically it. So basically with my relationship, what has happened, or one of the things that I did, which is extremely important in this time, was I knew all of these things were going to happen, and I knew what my mindset was going to be like, and I knew that I was going to be in a way of hurt. I also knew all the mental things to be like, okay, this is what I need to do mentally in order to overcome all the emotional stuff. Now, have I been hurting? Yes, absolutely. It's been the worst. I've been like a mess. I've been like, boo, like crying and all these other things and boo, thinking about things and feeling unworthy and feeling lonely and all the rest of it, as we're supposed to, and like digesting it. But I'm also being aware of my mind and knowing that like I encourage myself. I say really nice things to myself. What happens is when you're getting down in the lull, when I was talking about like the suicide stuff before, the way to get back out of it is to inject little positive things in there to prevent that from happening. Now what I did, one of the smartest things I did was I reached out to all my friends, sent them a big message of like what was actually going on, and I said to them, I need your support. I need you to reach out to me in the next couple months because I'm going to be hurting. Please help me. Send me some of your positive energy. And it was like the best thing I ever did was actually ask. Because what I did when I was getting into like the suicidal lull ages ago was I didn't ask for help. And I found it extremely hard to ask for something, or even just admit to myself that I was feeling like shit and that my heart was broken. Well, it wasn't the heartbroken thing, it was just admit that I was in a bad spot. That was only just like the start of it. It was everything else. That really wasn't it. The end of it, why I got suicidal. That wasn't it. It was all the other stuff, really. But just admitting that to someone was like the best thing ever. And then asking for support from then. And then things got better and I got moved on, and that sting was huge. Now what I did this time was like rip that little sting off and had a little sting, and actually had to face myself and admit to myself that yes, I'm going to be hurting, this is going to suck. So please send me out some help, which is why relationships are the most important thing. I said that before, that's why it's in the hierarchy of self-improvement and high performance. Absolutely. So that was like the best thing I ever did, to be honest, because I've had so many of like my friends been reaching out, doing nice things for me, saying the best things, just like picking me up. And as you're getting like down into the negative thing, you keep getting like little bumps back up again. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get out of this. Like, I'm eventually get out of this really good. Now, it's not to saying that it's going to suck for like a long period of time. I think once you really love someone, you kind of love them forever and always wish the best for them. And that's how you should feel about them too. You should never resent someone after you've had a relationship. Like, I think everyone's journey, if you've been on a journey with someone, it's extremely important, especially if you've been on a journey with someone and they've been a significant part of your life and they've been extremely important and they've been giving you heaps of value and they've given you love and they've taught you all these lessons. Like, they really deserve the respect to be like moving on with. And if you can forgive someone and not be resentful and all those things, no matter what path that you guys are choosing, and just love them for that anyway, makes you the more high value, better person. Especially if you can do that. Love should never be, like an old monk said this, love should be like sand in a hand. You should just be able to hold it there, like just hold it with an open hand. As soon as you crunch and squeeze the sand and try to cling onto it, the sand just escapes out of all the sides and holes of your fingers, right? And that's how like a relationship should really be. You should just love them for whatever their decisions are anyway. And that also really helps you overcome any of the emotional stuff. Especially if you're getting into the why me, like all this stuff, like you're doing this purposely for me, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, you're just actually making up all those thoughts in your own head because you don't know how to digest everything in your own mind, which is exactly what I did. So what I also do is acknowledging the differences between mind and emotions, as we went through beforehand with how emotions come second, and how we went through the ability to choose your emotions, and I went through one of the other things there. If you listen to that, yes. So just knowing all of those things that I said beforehand, about the brain, knowing like where you're currently at. If you're in a flight, fright, or freeze state, or if you're in a high performance state, you want to get to that high performance state to digest everything. Now, knowing the difference between those is super duper important, because it's very easy to let your emotions dictate your thoughts. Now, what I've been doing is every time that I notice like, you're lonely, you suck, you'll never get another partner again, or any of those different things, which we all just experience naturally. It's just a natural part of a breakup. Is I actually try to encourage and force myself. Have I won every time? No. Sometimes I've completely stuck to my mind, has got the better of me, and it was the freaking worst. But eventually overcome it. So what I do is when like a thought comes in, just acknowledging, like I just encourage myself. I say to myself really good things, because if you're saying positive things to yourself, you're going to prevent that negative lull coming in and getting back out of that hole. And you basically just want to, it's kind of like this. Once you're experiencing all that negative stuff, you're just digging a huge hole. What are you currently doing to fill that hole back up? One of the things I did was reach out to my friends, ask them all the stuff. The second thing that I do is like try to focus on yourself as best as possible, and do all the things that like make you happy, and don't be distracted. Don't lose focus for a bunch of things, and try not to get like external validation from friends and social media and whatever all the rest of it is. Now, some of the things I say to myself is when I get down and go, like you're lonely, you're not worth this, whatever. I just go, hang on a minute, mate. You're fucking amazing. You're brilliant. You're on an absolute great path. You are extremely good looking, if I do say so myself. Like you're a nice person. You have the best support group. You have an amazing family. Your friends are the best. Like, why wouldn't you love life? Keep loving life and keep doing you. You're the best. Get on with it. And the same thing when it comes up, when you start thinking about the other person and resenting them, because that's natural as well. You say that, you fill the hole back up by saying, no, don't resent them. No. They are the best. They were amazing. They were an extremely important part of your life. Like, they taught you all these amazing lessons. You still love them, and the only reason that you're hurting is because you love them anyway. And all the rest of it. And saying all of those things in order to fill that hole back up, which can prevent you from getting into the shitster mega depth hole of just feeling like a bag of dicks. So yeah, some real good tips there, I think, for myself and in my own experience. As I said, I'm not like a full relationship coach, but I think like some of this, I thought sharing my experience may be beneficial to you. So yeah, protein shakes and heartbreaks. If you actually liked anything from this, or you want to hear more on it, please just give this a like. Or even just follow me or subscribe to any of my stuff. It actually helps out heaps. And if you think anyone else is going through something similar that I am, and they need to hear some of this stuff, or they need to relate with someone, send them this podcast, or tell them to reach out. Like, it's like we're all here, we're all humans, and we're all having this beautiful experience. And if we're on the road to be the most optimized, physical, mentally elite human beings ever, once you understand the science of how relationships actually impact your recovery and your mindset and your ability to achieve things, and your influences and your decisions, and how they actually influence your decisions and your choices, it becomes extremely important, and no one ever teaches us this shit. Like, no one has ever said like, oh, okay, so if you want to get over a relationship, you need to still continuously love and forgive and respect this person, and you also need to love and forgive and respect your fucking self and not get down, and this is what's going to happen, and these are some of the things that you can do in order to overcome it, or even dissolve it, or make it less shit than what it is, you know what I mean? Like, no one sort of like goes through and teaches you that. Like, where is that? I wish someone had like gone through and taught me that like significantly, especially in the past. So I guess that's why we're here though. We're just here to damn learn. So yeah, if you like this stuff, please, like some of the stuff, give us a shout out. Big love to you, and if you made it to the end, thank you so much for listening and being a part of my journey and experience with this. Like, that's super amazing. And yeah, sending you all the fucking love. And yeah, whatever you're doing, whatever you're listening, I hope you have a really good night, good day, or whatever you're doing. Like, just, biggest, best vibes ever. And if you're going for a heartbreak, just know that, send yourself some positive vibes, because I'm sending them to you as well. Peace.